On behalf of the organizing committee of Let's Talk IEEE Young Professional Sri Lanka, I warmly welcome you for the second session, Logic Setup Creativity of the talk series, SkillUp and StandOut. This year, Let's Talk Young Professional Sri Lanka is coming to you with a fresh start, especially with our talk series, SkillUp and StandOut, with some insightful talks. We designed this talk series to sustain our young professionals with the best professional skills and to burnish your personal traits to become more successful. So let's begin the event with our second talk session, Logic Setup Creativity to craft you as one of the finest young industrialists. To commence with, I cordially invite Devmi Hathurasinghe, a secretary team member of IEEE Let's Talk 2022-2023, to welcome the gathering. Over to you, Devmi.
Thank you, Vismini. Good evening, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. In this evening, it's my pleasure and honor to welcome our guest speaker for today's session, Mr. Kushan Chanaka Amarasinghe, and the all executive committee members of IEEE Young Professionals Sri Lanka, all other committee members of IEEE Sri Lanka section, affinity groups, technical chapters, and our delegates who are present here today at the event. Today, IEEE Let's Talk unfold their second episode in Skill Up and Stand Out talk series under the theme of Logic Setup Creativity, which will be focused on elevating professional skills and crafting the prominent industries. I strongly believe that this session will be an opportunity in developing the sparks within you. So I wish you all the best of luck and hope this session would be something remarkable for you. Thank you. Back to you, Vismini.
Thank you, Devmi, for that excellent kickoff. Moving on now is the most awaited part of the day that is sure to keep you at the edge of your seat. Our esteemed speaker will discuss the importance of using logic to reinforce creativity and how it helps the future generation of young professionals who are stepping into the industry. Without further ado, let me introduce you to our guest speaker, Mr. Kushan Chanaka Amarasinghe. He is a passionate organization transformation catalyst, a trainer and a coach for rolling out operational excellence across the organization and Six Sigma process improvement projects, performance management, which has been accredited in regional level in leading FMCG multinationals. He has trained more than 90 plus DMAIC Six Sigma projects for both technical and corporate functions and have handled over 200 plus DMAIC and simple problem solving projects, process improvement projects in both Nestle, Coca-Cola and Asian Paints Courseway. He has been recognized as the best coach for supply chain projects in South Asia region in Nestle. He has also been rated as a star category trainer under the TTT at Nestle. He was instrumental in transforming Coca-Cola supply chain to top performing unit for 2 consecutive years, and he has brought Asian Paints Courseway operation unit to a highest performing unit in Asian Paints Global within a period of 1 year. He currently acts as the Chief Executive Officer at Finagal Lanka Private Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome our guest speaker, Mr. Kushan Chanaka Amarasinghe, for the session. Over to you, sir.
So thank you, guys. Yeah. So thank you, Anjali and Vishmini. So first of all, apologies for the delay in joining the session because unfortunately I was planning to come before 6 o'clock. I was attending a concert of my kids. There was a function going on in a school, so I had to attend that. And then on the way, actually, it was kind of traffic, so that's why I couldn't make it on time. Generally, it doesn't happen, but unfortunately, it goes beyond my control. So apologies for the same. Without further ado, I think I can move on to the presentation. I hope every one of you can see my screen. If not, I'll share it again. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir, we can.
Yeah, right. And at the same time, just please bear with me. I'm having a little bit of cough. So with that, good evening to all of you. And I think this is the first time I'm connecting with the IEEE platform. Though I have connected with undergraduates for many years in different platforms, but this is the first time I think we connecting with each other. So before we move on, I request if any of you having a facility to turn on your cameras, just keep it turned on, so that will be more impactful, so that I can have kind of more connectivity with all of you. But it's not a mandate. I know that it's kind of a challenging period because of the power cuts and all that. But if you are in a position to turn on your cameras, just make that happen. Okay. So with that, I will move on to the logic setup creativity. So this topic was offered to me by the organizing committee. And I think, the purpose of you calling in an industry professional to get in and share some of the insights related to the logics and the creativity. So the purpose I see is basically to understand, how these particular concepts that we talk about is generally being applied in the industry, right? I mean, otherwise you could have easily call a, person from academia and, get the insight from them, what is logics, what do you mean by creativity and all of that. So I would be focusing more on the industry aspects and how in undergraduates should be looking at, being logical in their thinking, and how it will connect to the creativity part, or how it will drive creativity. And that is what I'm going to touch upon. I hope you guys are fine with that. And by the way, this is not a lecture, of course. This is kind of interactive session. We are going to have interaction. I'll be asking questions, and you are free to disturb me at any time. I mean, I'm perfectly all right because I'm a trainer. So feel free to stop me at any time, and just feel free. That's all I want to say. Okay. So without further ado, let's move on to the content that I'm going to present with you today. So I'll start off like this. And when it comes to logics and when it comes to creativity, I think most of you by now is aware of the fact that our brains has two portions, or I would say two halves, where the functionality of these two halves are totally different in terms of the reasoning. So the left side of the brain, I mean, this is not my finding. I mean, these are purely, which is available everywhere. If you surf the internet, you can find all these details. So what it says, that the neuroscientists, so our left brain works in such certain way that it supports with the neurons that it has, it supports the logical part of our lives. I mean, the thinking, logical reasoning, working with the numbers, and so it provides a lot of reasoning abilities for us, or more or less, if you are coming from a science background, probably the neurons are designed in such a way that they facilitate that level of chemical reactions. And if you take the right side of the brain, it's into a different segment, which is totally different from the way the logic, I mean the other half was functioning. So the right side of the brain, it's basically into, I mean, the neurons or the chemical reactions facilitate or support in a certain way that it helps us to, it helps us in our expressions. It helps us, in our drawings, in singing, in our other, aesthetic abilities, the creativity part, basically. So two different sides. One side is mostly onto the numbers, logics and all that. The other side is kind of, facilitating the expressions, emotions, and the creativity, colors, So very vibrant, vibrant section. Now, if you look at as an individual, it's not like, we purely function as a logical person, purely function as a creative person, right? So our brain will work in both these areas, and based on the more use of our brain in certain halves, we will be identified in the society. We are a left brain thinker or a right brain thinker. Okay, so people who are predominantly known as left brain thinkers are kind of into decision making and managing functions and ruling others, right? And mostly science, engineering, technology graduates, the people, they have left brain is been more developed or more used, I would say. Not, we don't need to use the word develop, but we'll say they'll be using more of their left brain compared to this the individuals who are into music, singing, drawing, other crafts, socializing, very the entertaining and creative part of activities. So those people will be using more of their right brain. Now, if you look at Einstein, so one would say, okay, he will be using more of his left brain, right? And if you take the right brain, as I was saying, they will be, high in terms of self-confidence, right? Including a lot of humor and imagination comes into picture. So they love to, vividly imagine on things. We used to call dream, they are kind of, dreaming persons. They are very good dreamers. And at the same time, they love singing and they love music. They love, socializing. So you will see people who are using right brain demonstrating most of these qualities. And in our century or our millennia, I don't know. So we can call it a century or a millennia. So people or the professionals or the intellectuals who are coming from the science, technology, and engineering background, they will without hesitation, they accept Albert Einstein as the scientist of the century, let's say. So Albert Einstein, he's a well-balanced character if you look at his way of thinking. In a way, he was looking at the numbers, doing a lot of logics and reasoning, logical thinking. But at the same time, he was very creative in his imagination, right? So he loves to fantasize on certain things, which gives him on the other side, to build some logics. So he loved to kind of dream on certain thing, and when he starts dreaming on something, then he will start building logics whether this can be a reality or not. Okay, where he was able to convert some of this his imaginations into realities by developing building logics and mathematical models. So it's an interesting case study. If you analyze the way the behavioral pattern of the Albert Einstein. You can find a lot of articles, which I also went through these articles and I got these information. So these are readily available in the internet. So the next point that in today's discussion is going to be on whether the creativity comes from the logic. So in fact, I also didn't know whether the creativity comes from logic or whether logic comes from the creativity. So I didn't know. So I started reading a couple of articles. Then I realized that. So in most of the articles, the essence and the conclusion was you cannot simply separate. Mm-hmm. It's like the chicken and egg situation. Which brings which part first. So it is kind of inseparable, and they both work hand in hand. And they support each other. It's kind of, they are nurturing each other. But unfortunately, we all in our old schools, we love to kind of facilitate and enforce the logical reasoning or logical thinking part more. But in today's educations, I mean, if you take in the global educations and the new modes of educating and reading students the way of learning, what they encourage is kind of balance model where they facilitate the logical reasoning, logical thinking by providing them assignments, but at the same time giving them ample enough time to get indulged in. I would not say engage. I would say let them indulge in creative activities like the aesthetic activities, music, dancing, ballet, all these activities. So it's a requirement that such right brain facilitating the functionality of right brain facilitates the left brain thinking as well. So it's kind of both way kind of facilitation which happens in the brain. And very interestingly, if you can read here, so Nobel Prize scientists, for example, are 15 to 25 times more artistically creative than average peers. Okay, so you can imagine. And if you take science engineering graduates, they are likely to be more creative than the average or the general public. Now that is why it doesn't mean to say that they are superior to anyone. It's not the case. Because of the way their brain functions, they can easily pick up certain things. Okay, so creativity, creative part of our brain facilitate a lot of skill development, soft skills, and creative stuffs where it needs to have kind of adaptation. So when you have more left brain being developed, I mean, especially for science and engineering graduates, so they find it a bit easier for them to kind of capture and develop those kind of soft skills as well. But unfortunately, most of the science and engineering graduates, they don't know this, and that's why they kind of get stuck in a one particular domain when they come to the industry. They don't know the creative side, that they can socialize, they can go and speak to people, they can lead team, they can become kind of charismatic leaders. So they don't know that. But people who actually know that they have a strong nick toward these kind of areas, they will start capitalizing on that right side brain functionalities. So keep that in your mind. So we cannot actually kind of differentiate or kind of segregate. Okay, creativity comes from logic or logic comes from creativity. It's kind of inseparable, and both facilitate, both nurtures each other. This is what I could find. And can logical person become creative? Absolutely. If you take the other side, right? Now, logical thinking people, mostly they will try to focus on the differences between things. Okay. Whereas creative thinkers, they will try to find similarities and draw the connection between things. Or connecting dots will be a kind of a common feature in there. And as an example, what I have given here is a logical thinker might say that brick and rubber, rubber band, it can be rubber made anything. So the two complete different sets. But on the other side, the creative thinker would say brick and the rubber band have a lot in common. So it's a way of interpreting what they see. Now, if you look at these two profiles I have jotted down here, obviously, when you look at Bill Gates, he will talk more on numbers. Whereas, if you take Musk's interviews, he will be talking more about his imaginations, how he will go to Mars, how he will create, vehicles on Mars. You just try to compare, the way they talk. Bill Gates, whenever he talks, he talks about, the COVID impact, how the business are going to go down, the global impact. He will be talking about numbers. But if you look at Musk, the way he, it doesn't mean that he doesn't talk about numbers. He also talks about numbers, but the mostly he's passionate about, using more of his right brain and kind of, imagine on certain things. But he doesn't stop there, of course, because of the way he has been groomed, and the knowledge and his logical reasoning also facilitates his, to consolidate on his certain dreams or imagination that he has been working on. And that's why, some of his dreams have became a reality. And obviously, if he has enough time, he will go to the Mars. He will make sure that his dreams become a reality. So that will happen. Now, another part that I would like to touch upon during this discussion is that whether we can improve our logical thinking and creativity. Obviously, I would say that no one, obviously there can be certain differences, there can be certain outliers, but generally speaking, I would say every one of us born in the same way. Okay, our brain functionality will be the same when it comes to its functionalities. But the way we are being groomed from the beginning of our lives, especially at our playgroup level, kindergarten, and then the nursery, whatever the grades that you have. So that primary education will actually set up a very strong foundation how you will function your brain. So that is why the primary education becomes paramount important. And this is where you're going to experience whether you are going to solidify or consolidate on more on the left side or the right side. Whenever you get a balanced education that I will be using left brain and right brain whenever it is required, and I will facilitate or I will use them as appropriate with a lot of activities. Obviously, that will provide or facilitate a healthy growth of an individual along the way. Now, improving, but obviously, when I look at my way of the way I was groomed, I would say I was pushed more towards the logical part rather than the creative part. But still, I was not good at logical reasoning. I was not good at numbers. I'm not a mathematician. I'm not a very strong engineering professional. But I had been using a lot of my creative side. I know that as a matter of fact, I have been using a lot of my right side of the brain to imagine on certain things, where I obviously it was facilitated by logical reasoning later on. Build the case, to make sure that my dream is whatever the dream that I was having, become a reality. Now, how to improve the logical part or the logical thinking and the creative thinking? Now, can anyone guess what are these two pills? Just to break the ice, I'm asking this question. Nothing serious here. Can anyone remember this? This is a metaphor actually. It's coming from a very famous movie. Can anyone guess? It's one of the most advanced, probably the best scientific movie the cinema industry has ever witnessed. Yeah, correct. So it's from the Matrix. It's from the Matrix. So the blue pill is the dream world that we are living, and you take the blue pill and you can continue with that life, and the red pill is basically to give you a wake up call, and then you start realizing this is not the real world, and okay, there is a different side of the world. So I was trying to compare these two with the logical reasoning and the creative thinking. So if you want to improve your creative side, So, and if you are a logical person and you want to improve your creative side, so spend more time on extracurricular activities. Spend more time on listening to interest in music. It can be sorry. If you want to be if you want to develop logical reasoning, so you should be spending more time on where you will be engaged with questions related to logical thinking, where you will be try to kind of explain things by yourself. Let's say, for example, you will try to solve certain complex problems and try to reason yourself why it happens in the way that it happening as of now. And it's kind of trying to stimulate your brain, and probably you will not find the answers right away, but you will keep on stimulating your brain. I mean, it's kind of exercise, obviously, because this particular development means you try to kind of put a stress on your neurons. I mean, there's no magical part, or there's no magic behind this. It's simply about we are trying to exercise our neurons, left side brain neurons and the right side brain neurons. So you're trying to kind of exercise your neurons, put some pressure on them, put some stress on them to make sure that okay, they start working. Probably they might be sleeping for some time. And you can start practicing questions and learn a new skill, and and try to anticipate the outcome of your decision. So which will try to build some connectivity between your activities and the outcome. So logical reasoning will come into the picture. If you want to develop the creative side of your brain, you start ifs, and start you will be more focusing on the ifs part. What if, and at the same time you'll start practicing dreaming. It's very important. I mean, dreaming, I think it would be the most effective way of developing the right side functions. Because when you start dreaming, there's be a lot of hormones comes into the picture, when you'll be having a lot of serotonin and a lot of happy hormones comes into the picture, and that will definitely boost your development in your right side brain. And at the same time you will start thinking, what if this solution, if I implement this solution here, and kind of crazy ideas. I mean, this is the fundamental way of how a lot of companies have turned around. They have actually facilitated these crazy ideas. You might have only heard this thing, or you might have heard this common word called out of the box thinking. So it's basically a way of allowing people to be very wild in terms of their creativity and creative thinking mostly. So it's basically about engaging in recreational activities, planning for or think about ifs, and practice more on the dreaming, and engage with the aesthetic activities, as I was saying, right? And also try to pitch your ideas, which will create some development in your presentations or communication skills. And it's a kind of as an it's an elevator, as it's mentioned here. So these kind of initiatives or the actions will help you in terms of growing your right side brain functionalities, or it will put stress on the neurons, which will eventually help growing your neurons to function better in terms of right side brain thinking, or that, in other words, the creative thinking. That is what it says. Now, we all understand that logics are pretty much important. But at the same time, you might be wondering why I was harping on the logics and the creative, and I was harping more on the creative part. Now, if you look at how it translates, now I'm coming to the business side of the whole thing, whole discussion. We were discussing about right brain, left brain, some of the theoretical findings, some research findings from the researchers that people have carried out. what are the, the way science graduates, mathematicians, statisticians, and those people are more creative sometimes compared to the general public. So we got a lot of inputs like that, and some of the key tips to improve your logical reasoning and the creative, thinking. But all in all, at the end of the day, as undergraduates, what really important to you is what benefit it brings to me, what benefit it adds to my profile, and how it will help me when I come to the industry. So if you look at this chart, this I have been using in most of my training programs. It's a very important slide. It's again, it's an illustration made out of researches carried out by a couple of multinationals. Now, it's part of something called the operational excellence. Now, if you can see here, the yellow part of the entire design, you can see it says continuous improvement. And on within the brackets, you can see entrepreneurship and creativity. Now, what it says, now if I explain this diagram, okay, now this chunk, okay, is where we are right now. When you come to the industry, you will find yourself in this particular rectangle where 40% of your time will be spent on daily activities, routine activities. 50% of your time will be spent on firefighting to solve problems, then and there, to put off certain issues that we have. And you will be having about 10%, time to be more creative or think something creative, bring some entrepreneurial ideas while at work. Now, if in business point of view or business growth point of view, this is not healthy. The reason is you are being paid as a business, you are being paid not only to do the daily tasks, not only to do the firefighting, put off fires, solve problems. You are being paid to improve. You are being paid to improve the processes in most of the cases. Or businesses, or in other words, businesses will thrive if you continuously improve your process, your operations. Now, that will not happen overnight, or that will not happen automatically. So that is why we build in something called operational excellence fundamentals in order to make sure that we simplify our work, we reduce our daily tasks, we remove or eliminate as much as possible all the firefighting, and we get ample enough time to engage with what? Creative things. Now you can understand, if you are so creative and if you can find time at work, you are definitely contributing more to the business than anyone else, because you will be supporting this very important business, phenomenon, or a business, I would say a key initiative called continuous improvement. Continuous improvement, or we call it CI in short. So continuous improvement. Now, continuous improvement is simply the way of life should be for any organization. Without improvements, no organization will thrive. So this is what I'm always harping as an operational excellence coach. I generally don't believe that wherever I go, or anyone who comes to a job, doing a job, saying that, okay, I did my job, I perform my duties, I would not be impressed. I mean, that's not something business would expect if the business is, aspiring to grow or thrive to the next level. Okay. The reason is only if you improve the performance, we will become better, faster, and cheaper in our cost of operations, where it will create the competitive advantage over the competitors, where it will take us from our current level to the next level. Yeah. So it's very important. Now, I'll touch upon now how this was applied in practical context, how this logical reasoning and creativity, how we can see this practically in the industry by analyzing two companies. Now, here I take Toyota approach and Ford approach. Okay, so this is Mr. Toyota and this is Henry Ford. Now, the way American manufacturers were thinking and the way Japanese were thinking, especially the Toyota was thinking, totally different. At the beginning, they were thinking the same way. So they were trying to beat American, the automobile manufacturer, or try to enter the American market. But obviously, the Ford was actually running the show in America. Yeah. So they were like, the king in the business. So they manufacture whatever the product they want, and customer had no option other than buying what Ford was manufacturing. And there's a very interesting saying from the Ford company. You can think of any color as long as it's black, right? So which means to say that you can think of any color, but we manufacture only black. You get only black. So manufacturer decides what customer wants. And you have to wait for our products. There's a queue, and people are demanding our products. You will get the product, when we finish our production. And we are premium, right? So we are Ford, we are premium. Now, a Toyota, comparatively, he was an underdog, right? And he wants to enter to the American market. So he was thinking, how can I beat Ford, and how can I capture the market share from the American market? Now, their thinking was totally different. Now, their logical reasoning came into the picture here. They were thinking, who actually decides what customer wants? Is it us, or for Toyota, was it Toyota decide what customer wants, or customer decides, no, we want this product? So actually, so Henry Ford had already created a market. So basically, the customer was saying, this is what we want. We need this kind of a car. We need a car like, Ford. So basically, customer decides. So Toyota didn't have an upper hand. At the same time, Toyota realized, so whenever they manufacture, it takes a long time to manufacture, let's say, 1 month to manufacture. So before handing over the vehicle to the customer, you will not be able to get the money, right? So you get an order today and it takes 1 month to deliver. So until such time, you will have no money, because only when the car is being delivered, you'll get money. So Toyota was thinking in a different way. Can't we take money quickly than Ford? So Ford was taking, let's say, 1 month to deliver, or the lead time. Can't we do it within, within half a month or within 1 week, so that we can get money as quickly as possible to our accounts, which is very important. Now, this is called, facilitating a better liquidity. So Toyota's thinking was different from Ford's thinking here. And then the cost. Now, Ford was deciding, this is my cost. On top of that, I'll keep about 30% margin, and this is my price. You buy it or you leave it. But Toyota was an underdog. So he was saying, no, we cannot price the way we want. There is already a market for Toyota, Fords, and there is a price for them. And we cannot just go and put a vehicle for the same price. Definitely they'll say, why would I need to buy something from you? You are a Japanese car manufacturer. We are American, we have already American manufacturers here. We have prestigious Ford vehicles. Why would I have to pay the same amount for Japanese vehicle? That's the way the American customers were looking at the Japanese manufacturers. Those days. Now, Mr. Toyota realized that I cannot sell the product to the same price that Henry Ford was selling. So it has to be cut down. So it's basically customer decides the price of the car. Let's say, all right, I'll pay $10,000 for Ford vehicle, but I'll only pay $5,000 for a Toyota vehicle. I mean, this is the way we think, right? I mean, if you look at how you're going to buy a vehicle, you spend about 15 to 20 million for a German vehicle, but would you pay the same amount for an Indian vehicle? Mahindra Jeep will you spend like 20 million? Obviously not, right? You will not spend 10 million for a Maruti or a what you call the other one, the Alto. You will not spend, but you will spend 10 million for Toyota Premio. Obviously, Toyota Premio you cannot buy for 10 million at the moment. So you'll be happily paying 10 million for a Premium. That's because of that's the customers, the perception of the way we see the quality of the product, prestige, the brand, everything. It's all called the equity. Now with this Toyota, they logically realized that they started reasoning why we cannot sell this much, why we cannot price like this, why we take this long. So they started being very logical, analyzing their cost structure, the layouts, production structure, and all that. And then they came up with a fantastic model, which we call today the Toyota production system. It's a very creative model. If you look at the Toyota's model, I mean, where everyone now kind of adapting Toyota production system, right? There's a font a font name given later on by Washak and all these American researchers who have been studying about Toyota production system. But nowadays, people happily and willingly want to adapt the Toyota production system. It's a very creative system. I mean, I'll share some of the elements of the Toyota production system. It comes with a lot of creativity, right? And it's not complex. It's soft. It's very soft. It's not too analytical. I mean, like too rigid. It's not like that. It's not like the Six Sigma, which evolved in USA. So lean is the word. I think probably you might have heard this word. So the lean is the alternate word for Toyota production system. Okay, so lean is the alternative word for Toyota production system. Now look at this one. Logical reasoning towards inventing just in time. Now Toyota, they realized that they have a lot of inventories. Now the logical part that what they came up was, why we need to have inventories this much? Let's cut it by half. Now that's a logical, reasoning, logical thinking, why we need to have so much of inventories like this. But that was the norm across Ford, General Motors, like, everywhere back then. But Toyota said, no, we'll try to be very logical here. Why we need to have this much of inventories? We'll cut it down. And then that brought a lot of creative solutions, thinking into the picture. And they brought it down. And here, so they brought it down and they brought it down further. So what happened? So they were sailing well as a ship, as a business, because of the sea of inventory here. Sea of inventory, but they were actually kind of not seeing a lot of unseen waste and issues in their business. Unreliable vendors, scrap mean the waste, capacity imbalances. So all these issues were kind of hidden because of this sea of inventory. So they brought down the inventory level, let's say 50%. And then this unreliable vendors, scrap and capacity, so that became a bottleneck for the ship to sail. Okay, so that became a bottleneck for the ship. I mean, for their business to continue smoothly. And they asked why. Now we cut down our inventories half. Now we cannot move our business. Why? That's the logical part. Then they realize, okay, we have these issues. Now they start getting to solving problems. And after what happened? They further reduced it. They solved problems, they further reduced it. And finally, they realize they can develop a very smart mechanism where a concept which we all today, fondly follow and learn called JIT. Can anyone tell me what is JIT? What is JIT? Anyone knows what is JIT? So they invented JIT based on this thinking. Yeah, so just in time. Just in time. I mean, so whenever you want to produce, you get the products or the supply sends the material just in time. Not before, not after, not 2-3 weeks before, not 1 month before. When you want to manufacture, your machine comes, people come, all the assembly lines connects together. What you call the windscreen comes on time, the tires come on time. So everything brings or connects to the manufacturing flow at the right time and only when it is required. And that involves a lot of creative solutions like negotiations, layouting, and locating the suppliers nearby, right? So there are a lot of creative thinking has to happen afterwards. But that all started with the logical reasoning as to why we need to have this much of inventories. So this questioning, this reasoning, this thinking part is very important to, at the beginning, it's very important to come up with creative solutions. That is what I want to kind of highlight here. Another example, as I was saying, so another creative mechanism that they have came up with was Jidoka. Now, Jidoka is another word in English language. It will be translated to automation, right? So automation with the human touch, intelligent automation. Now here, the way they were thinking, right? At the beginning, Toyota was having an issue that they were having customer defects, and it was passing to they were having some manufacturing defects, and it was passing to the customers. And they were asking this question: why rejects or the defects goes to the customer? It cannot happen. Why? How it can happen? So they started questioning their process, and then they realized, okay, there are certain gaps in the process, and for that they had to develop a mechanism, a framework, and that is what we call the Jidoka at the beginning. But that was only the beginning, and later on they realized that there is a reject, there is a defect in the line, so we had to stop the line, and then we had to solve that problem, and then we proceed. So that was the initial thinking of Toyota. But in manufacturing point of view, whenever you have a defect, you stop the line and you run it like that. That's not a very smart way of running manufacturing lines. You stop the machine, that means you are going to lose. You're gonna lose in terms of materials. You're gonna lose in terms of labor hours. You're gonna lose in terms of the productivity. So a lot of things been lost. So then, but with the same thinking, thinking is what? We still cannot pass defects to the customer. Then they came up with smart solutions that, right? So this is where the creativity comes into play. So we need to identify defects, but at the same time, we cannot stop the machine. And then came the sensors, smart sensors. And, initially at the beginning, there were certain other tools like, the andon cords, andon lights. And later on, machines were transformed to self-healing machines. At the beginning, we had to stop the machine and correct the issue and then run. And then came production is happening, rejects are being diverted or rejected without stopping the machine. That's the evolution. That's the creative side of it, right? So then the same thing, with the same logic, they said, still I am not happy because still the rejects are happening and they are being diverted. I'm not stopping the line, yes, I'm happy with that, but still rejects are happening. How can I, kind of quickly revert it, rectify it? And that is where, the machines were developed to a certain level. We call it the self-healing machine. Machine itself corrects the issue. Say for example, now if you take the beverage industry, let's say you have, beverage industry. If you take Coca-Cola, Sprite manufacturing, you simply take the sugar syrup and you put some colors and bottle it. That's the simplest process. Now let's say in your process you have an issue with your sugar content level is high. Sugar content level is high and that product has to be rejected, right? Now what will happen? So you keep on rejecting the thing, then the entire batch will be rejected, right? So that cannot happen. So you get one rejection and you analyze it quickly, and then without stopping the line, there will be certain valves or sensing. There is a high level of sugar content. We call it bricks in the industry. So there's a high bricks level. We need to add more water and bring this bricks level down. Reduce the sweetness or you reduce the sugar level. And then you start filling. And that happens automatically, like a magic. And that's called the self-healing. This is just one example. There are so many examples. Like, this is basically automation. We call it automation, not the automation, but the automation. Intelligence automation. Automation with a human touch. They can sense it. This is what I have to do. Now the sugar level is high. I have to bring it down. Sugar level is low. We need to dose more sugar and, make it more, make the bricks level go up. And then I can start filling. So it's kind of a self-healing machine. Now, this is how, Jidoka evolved, but this is how Jidoka started. Okay, I hope you can hear my screen. See my screen and hear.
Production of only quality products by automatically eliminating the production of defective products at an early stage. The key to Jidoka is that machines are made to adjust to workers, rather than forcing workers to keep pace with the machine. To implement Jidoka on the line, we have incorporated intelligent automation in our production equipment and refined work procedures for our teams to build quality into products at each point and prevent defective items from going on to the next process. One such idea is the pairing of our rope switch and andon, an electric signboard on every section of the line which provides a visual control tool. With andon, every team member has responsibility to the extent of stopping the line if they see something that isn't standard. The ultimate objective is to help prevent problems from happening, reducing line stop time and increasing process stability. If team members judge there to be any abnormality, they can use a rope switch and andon to indicate a problem has been detected. Here, a team member finds a problem and pulls the rope switch above the production line. A chime sounds, and number 26 on the andon lights up in yellow to inform the team leader that there is a problem at number 26 workstation. The team leader moves immediately to the workstation to investigate the situation and provide assistance. If the problem is solved in the prescribed section of the line, the team leader pulls the rope again. This turns the yellow andon light off, letting all production workers know that the line has returned to normal. If the abnormality cannot be corrected in the prescribed section of the line, it automatically stops. The andon light then changes to red. In this way, the color of the andon light lets everyone know the status of the production line at a glance.
Okay. So Jidoka has transformed. There's another way of developing the creativity within the industry. Now, there is a concept called mistake proofing in the industry. In other words, we call it. In Japan, this was termed as okayoke. But when it was translated, it comes as foolproof. But in today's context, we could say mistake proofing. The fundamental idea behind mistake proofing is that mistakes can happen. It's inevitable. Mistakes definitely happens. And so this is where, the logical reasoning comes into the picture. mistakes can happen, and then why it happens. I mean, how it happens. Why it happens, more than the why it happens, how it happens. And we address the how part here. Okay, say for example, you want to identify, so sometimes, the label, there's a labeling machine. Sometimes the label doesn't, get applied, and there can be products going out without the label, and it goes to customer, and then there's a customer complaint. Okay, and how can I make sure that customer will not get any defects with related to labels, related to not having labels? I mean, this is how the questioning should happen. How we can make sure that customer will not get defects. I mean, that's a logic. And then come the creative part. Okay, how can we make sure that there won't be any label, any situation that label unavailability goes undetected. And then they start developing creative solutions, and this is where certain proto sensors, or limit switches, light switches, the beam sensors, all these kind of sensors have been developed in order to detect such unavailability of labels, so that machines automatically stops. So likewise, I mean, this is a very generic example. So likewise, if you look at the Pokayoke systems or the mistake proofing systems, they are widely available in the market today. I mean, everywhere you go, you will see lots of mistake proofing systems. I mean, the best example would be, you go to an ATM machine, you try to insert the ATM card in a wrong direction, whether you will be able to insert. You will not be. Imagine it was not there. It goes inside, it gets jabbed. I mean, how many of us, consciously try to, enter it at the right direction? It will not happen now, but we'll just try to insert it, and we know that it will not go inside, and then we, insert it in the other way around, right? Same like the pen drive. So this is where, creative designing part starts with, this questioning. How can we make sure the mistakes will not happen? And then, will come the creative side. And now when I come to the industry, especially in a context like today, where we see a lot of dangers around the businesses because of the rising costs, rising in inflation, food inflation at about staggering, 70%. Everything is, more than, 50%, 60% price point, it has gone up. People are kind of leaving the country. Young talents are leaving the country. So in a situation like this, it's a kind of, danger situation. So in Chinese proverbs, there is a word called Weiji, right? Weiji stands for crisis. I mean, if you translate Weiji into English language, it's crisis. So you can still hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I was explaining the crisis situation. So the power crisis came into the picture. Nice. So coming back, so crisis in Chinese proverbs, it translates to Weiji. So Wei stands for danger, and then there is a G part. G means the opportunity. So in a crisis, there is a danger, but at the same time, you can see an opportunity. This is as per Mandarin proverbs, but there are certain arguments and kind of different interpretations saying that this is not exactly how it translates. Whatever it is, just take the message out of it. So in a crisis situation, there is always an opportunity. Now we are in a crisis situation, and there is always an opportunity. Opportunity is to for the industry undergraduates. Undergraduates who are coming to the industry, they will have a lot of opportunities if they try to be creative, nurtured by logical reason. Okay, and this is where a very important concept of the Kaizen comes into the picture. You analyze the situation, you try to reason why as to why it happens, and then you develop, you pilot solutions and implement change for better, and finally it connects to the continuous improvement. This is, I just wanted to share some of the logics, the logical thinking and how it helped us, being creative. Very simple examples. Some of things I cannot share, but some of things I can share. So whichever I can share, which we have done in the industry, I will share. So this is from Asian Paints Causeway. Basically, this is from the Causeway Paints plant. So the right side you will see. So I hope you all can see my screen. I'm going to play a small video. You'll see a small activity. A guy is pedaling and he's trying to fill a tube. You can see there's a tube here. It's not very visible. So there is some slurry here and he's filling this tube with this pedaling technique. Okay. And this pedal actually connects to a piston here. So this piston moves and the slurry comes to the tube. So if you analyze the cycle time to fill one tube, it will take about 25 to 30 seconds. And total cycle time for one particular filling of one tube will be roughly about 40 minutes, 40 seconds. Now I was just walking in the factory. As soon as I got in there, so I was simply, this has been a machine. They have been using this machine for nearly 8 years or more than that. This is something called the Benox. You can when you go to your garage, when you go to a garage, there is something called the cattle oil paste, right? So cattle oil paste is mixed using this particular paste, and these are automotive substance. That been used in automotive paint work. Now they have been doing this. They have been using this machine for nearly 7-8 years, and there were two things came into my mind as soon as I saw this one. What will happen to his leg if he keeps on doing this? That's the first thing came to my mind. It's a hazard. Okay. So if you look at the way he was operating, you can easily see, his leg is functioning. His knee is functioning in a way that it is not healthy. And the second thing, the time it takes. Is it really productive? And then can't we just do the same thing in a different way? Can't we just stop doing this pedaling work? Then, I asked this question. They said, no, then how are we going to fill it? Then we said, it's very simple. We will stop doing the pedaling part and we'll give this pedaling part to something, we'll do the pedaling part, or we'll push the piston back using some different type of energy. So this is where a simple, pneumatic press was brought into the picture. You can see a small button here, right? A small lever actually. So this is a testing phase of this particular improvement. You can see it's just 5 seconds maximum to fill this tube. And this was the improvement. From 45 seconds to 40, 5 minutes, 5 seconds. And at the same time, later on, they improved the capacity of this piston and, brought 2 more nozzles, 1 more nozzle here, so that the guy was, now the guy is actually handling 2 tubes at one time and filling both tubes simultaneously. So the cycle time further comes down. So within 5 seconds, you can actually fill 2 Benox tubes. Simple thinking, simple logical reasoning. Why you pedal like this? Why can't we stop? And why can't we, use the same mechanism to push the cylinder back using a different energy? And that comes up with, creative solutions like, these wires, these switches, so all this thing will follow. So it's very important that you ask the right questions. Now I'll show you a couple of more examples from the industry. from my previous workplace, which we have freshly done, just to, give you an idea of some of the small work. I will not be able to share some of the content, but I will share whatever I can share. Nice. Yes. Let me share my screen. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. I hope you can see my screen. Yeah. Right. Anyone see my screen?
Yes, we can see. Yes.
Right. Okay, so I'll explain the context here. Once again, there was an issue. An issue was related to printing of the price, and later on, we have to kind of take it off. And when you want to take off the price, change the price. If there's a kind of incorrect printing, and then you have to wipe it off. And actually, that creates a lot of issues, because it does not actually kind of remove properly. Now that is where we wanted to kind of do the printing in two different ways. So we were asking, how can we solve this problem? How does it happen? How can we solve this problem? Whether we can wipe it off using a different thing, we tried it. Different solvent, we tried it. We tried to wipe it hard, and then the entire the label panel got damaged, and then the inner tin layer came out. And can we put a sticker? Well, that will be a kind of regulatory issue. So lots of the reasoning and thinking, creative thinking, the logical thinking came into the picture, where we were trying to kind of exercise our brain to understand how we can solve this problem. Then the creative thought came was, why can't we print the price in a different location? Like where? Okay, like where? Can we do it here? So I'll show you an example. Can we do the printing in the bottom? This is the design. I mean, the thought process was. So how can we do this? We don't have machines to print the price on the bottom. But that's a creative thought. But that's out of the box thinking. But we don't have machines to do that. I mean, back then, this was like, about 8-9 months back. So back then, it was right after the dollar crisis. We are not in a position to bring down machines from any other country because of the dollar crisis. And country also didn't have any sort of double printing machines, industrial printing machines. So we were kind of, stuck with this idea, and, we were not in a position to move forward. Then, the creative thinking came into the picture. So this is actually a proof of how these engineering guys are retrofitting a handheld printing machine, which was not supposed to used in machines. I mean, like these kind of automated machines. This is used for different purpose, but they using different set of sensors and brackets and simple technology. They kind of retrofitted the entire machine, entire system back into the inkjet printer. And they started printing the price. This is the first trial, the first trial that they had done. So the entire team who had been with the design, production heads, plant heads, engineering heads, and all the logistics heads. So because it was a common. Okay, so can you all see me? I think I closed the entire presentation. Sorry. Yeah, so let me share. Okay, so that is done. And then, we were able to kind of come up with this solution. And then we started printing. So we started off with one machine. And then, we replicated or kind of replicated the same solution to 3 more printing machines. Now, the benefit the business was having was, for this entire retrofitting activity, we took about only, we spent only about 400,000. And we recognized the engineering team for the same, right? And it was highly rewarded. And at the same time, if we are to get a double head printing machine from outside, back then it was roughly about 3.5 million, 4 million Sri Lankan rupees. So for 3 machines, it will be around 12 million or more than that. And on top of that, we didn't have dollars. But by spending 400,000 approximately, we could solve the problem. And it's a very creative solution, completely eliminated our issue. This was a game change. Okay. Right. So that's another example. Let me share another example. Another simple thinking, a simple thinking of so unfortunately, let me see if I can share some videos of some of the implementation. Should be possible. Okay, so let me share some more videos of okay. So this is regarding another non-productive work our employees were doing. Once again from Asian Paints. So before showing that, I'll show you something we have been used to do. Let me just share my screen. The way we have been doing is what I want to share. Okay, so here we go. Right. I hope you can see my screen. Yes? Yes, you can see.
Yes,
right. So this is a manual lever and kind of a lip press. So when you pull it down, when you pull it down, this piston will go down. This piston will go down and press the lid of paint buckets, paint tins, the small cans. So at Causeway, we have so many these kind of manual lid pressing machines. Stations, I would say. We also have automated packing machines, but at the same time we have manual lines also based on, because small SKUs when you have to produce, it doesn't make any sense putting up machines. Okay, but the problem was one person has to kind of keep the tin like this, and has to press it always, and press it always and push it to the next station, press it and push it next station. So it was a very tiring activity. You can get biceps by doing that, right? So we were asking simply, I mean, is it really necessary to do like this? I mean, can't we not do this entire activity once again? If so, how can we solve this issue? Okay. So this is where, a different solution came into the picture. Okay. So I'll show you. Now, by the way, all these things were done in-house. I mean, very simple solutions done within a very short period of time. Likewise, we have converted 6 machines as of now. We kind of converted these kind of, manual pushing machines, manual levers. You can see one here, and you can see the automated, it's kind of a fully automated part. Fully automation happened here actually, because with the sensor, nobody needs to push a button even. It sends the pin, and it press the the pusher arm, and then it goes back. And if someone keeps his hand, it will not work. So there is a safety measure also. So this was all done in-house, and we have done many machines like this. The benefit was, one, employee safety. I mean, employee working ergonomics. The second thing is the speed. We could improve it further. And the other thing was, the quality point of view. So it was even pressure applied to the across the lid. So there is no impact from the way he was doing the work. So it was fully, even pressure applied across the lid. And this opened up furthermore creative ideas like, why can't we just do this for many machines and connect them through the conveyors, and we can reduce labor also. So now the team is actually working on these areas. So they are putting up conveyors and automating further. Even the filling part they are doing in-house. This all started with asking a very simple or simple reasoning as to why we had to do this. Can't we just stop doing this? I mean, is it really productive? If we are to stop this, how can we do this? Then all the creative solutions came into the picture. Okay. So this is what I want to highlight here. I mean, in terms of the work that we have done. And let me see if I can share another one. Not sure whether I have. Okay, so here I don't have the photographs. Okay, should be. Okay. So yeah, here, I mean, I hope you can see my screen still. Yeah. So this again, Kaizen, work. So before, I mean, assume that there is a product here, and you have to fill, and person has to kind of transfer this product from here to here, and there's a person, who supports him filling. So it's a very semi-solid, semi-solid material. You can imagine it to a jelly. Imagine it to a jelly, and it is again used in the automotive industry. So it's a very semi-solid, product, and we were using a spoon or a spatula to fill this product into a tube. The tubs. So we were taking from the tub, using a spatula and put it into the can. Taking from the tub, putting into the can, and put the lid then pack it. So that was the operation, very primitive. Then we were asking very simple questions. Is this normal? I mean, can't we just stop doing this? Right? Is it healthy? I mean, is it productive? I mean, what sort of risks involved with how inefficient this was? Can't we think of a different version? I mean, there were no machines actually, not even AP Global, Asian Paints Global context, for this kind of a slurry, we didn't find any machines where we could, kind of import. And of course, dollar was a problem. Then, people came up with the simple solutions. The creative came into the picture. They found a pressurized nozzle and using compressed air. And this hose actually runs to the tub. So this is where the product is. And it gets sucked from this hose. It's like, you might have seen the gas filling station or the fuel filling station. You have a fuel filling, particular hose. So something similar to that. So they press it and then the slurry comes out of the nozzle in a much faster manner. And there is no body movements. People are, really happy working here. No more, bending, reaching, no unsafe acts. And on top of everything, we finally save money. So very simple thing. And then, it opens up a lot of creativity. So this solution implementation didn't happen overnight. I mean, there are a lot of thinking came into the picture. People are saying, can we use a bigger spatula? Can we check for machines availability? Then it was also checked. So lots of areas were checked. One might feel, okay, this is just a simple solution. Yes, it's a simple solution, but it didn't come overnight. It involved a lot of, thinking, creativity, brainstorming, asking a lot of 5 whys, so that involved a lot of work. So my final work, the example is on solvent recovery. So I would share another one. So we were having kind of issue related to our the solvent based chemicals, solvent based paint, and that paint, when the paint was made, we need to wash the tub and we have to send it out. Discard it. So this is what we have been doing. So we were roughly spending about discarding about nearly 12 million worth of solvents, waste solvents every year. So we were asking, why? Is this the right thing to do? Can't we just recover it? So then people were, brainstorming, try to reason out, how as to why it is happening, why can't we stop this thing? What are the other alternatives that we have? So then they came up with different solutions. So many solutions came, and finally this was one of the most creative solutions, developing a filtering mechanism. So this is two-step filtering mechanism. I don't think any company is having it in the paint industry. And this was the first time Asian Paints globally we were doing it. And it's a very simple thinking, but it's a creative thinking. Probably you might have seen the water filter unit. So similar concepts we brought in here. So with the photograph of that, I will share the presentation today. Probably my last slide. So I'll show you some examples of the same. Okay, so let me just share some of the examples. I hope you can see my screen. So this is the architecture of this design. You can see a lot of work had happened here in terms of designing this one. All right. So these are the kind of filtering agents that they have been using. Okay. So different types of filtering agents were using. Right. Charcoal, the other pebbles and all that. So a lot of things were being tried out. This involved a lot of trial and error. Must tell you, it didn't happen overnight. These are the machines. And not only that, it was a development which went up to a level of extreme level. Extremely high level. So the filtering units actually gave it up to this level. And then, this filtered one, this, even though the color is black, it doesn't have any particles. Now, this is after 2 filtrations. And then this is the final, filtering and clearing using an agent, caustic. So we simply recovered the entire thinner quantity using these two filtration mechanism and by adding caustic. Right? So these are massive saving, about 10, 12 millions per annum. Imagine, like, it all came with asking a very simple, why we need to do this? Why we need to discard this paint solvents? I mean, this has been the way of working for many, many years, but it doesn't have to be that way. Okay. So this is an example. I mean, I'll show you some, how we can stimulate creativity. I mean, you need to encourage ideation. It's one of the key areas for success. So this is what we have done there. So we have encouraged employees to come and put their creative ideas, and so they came up with a lot of good ideas, and they started putting all these ideas into boxes. And we for 6 months, we roughly collected about 250 plus ideas, and then we started implementing all of that. Yeah. So it's a very impactful one. So these are the team, this was a team, who did this, all the bins and nice work, creating a lot of visual, visual controls. So a lot of work happened. And there's another example I'll tell you. So there was another area where we had a problem. So our waste is a hazardous waste, paint is a hazardous waste. So how can we discard them? So there was a high level of, hazardous waste discard, and we are paying millions of money to INSEE to dispose these hazardous waste. And then came up, so how can we reduce it? I mean, why we need to spend this much? How can we stop this thing? I mean, can't we stop creating sludge? Can't we stop disposing the sludge? So lots of logical thinking, reasoning came into picture, and we asked a lot of whys, and a lot of calculations were done, and then came up with lots of solutions and some creative solutions. One creative solution was this, and this is bricks made out of paint waste, sludge, and this is far more solid and far more superior than normal normal cemented bricks. And it's even cheaper. And we are selling this now. We are selling it. I mean, this is easily sellable. So likewise, there are so many areas that people can think, right? And be creative. So this is the team, once again, who was doing this. So they were doing brainstorming and developing these samples, and now it's under testing stage with the NERD and ITI. Probably they will sell it off. Okay. So with that, I think I will conclude my presentation. I mean, last but not least, from industry point of view, I would say that there are a lot of opportunities for you in the industry if you try to pitch in with your logical reasoning, like ask simple why and how it happens, why it happens in the way it happens to be, ask a couple of whys, and then start kind of prototyping, developing solutions basis that. So this is the starting point. So living up to the topic of the today's context, that logic, setup, creativity. You simply need to getting into the picture, observing, and asking simple set of questions like 5W1 HO, simple whys, and the basis that you can develop the solutions accordingly. And there's a different concept called design thinking. Probably that is a development of this creative thinking based on the logical reasoning, which is a discussion for another day. So this is what I wanted to share, more or less. So I think we can wind up. I mean, I will wind up, and if you have any questions, you can ask me.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kushan Amarasinghe, for those inspiring words. I'm sure all the participants learned how to become the best version of themselves and improve their personal traits through creativity and logical thinking. Now is the time for the Q&A session. I'm sure most of you have questions or doubts to clarify. Feel free to send.
It doesn't have to be necessarily regarding the today's topic, or you can ask anything about industry, whichever I can help. So by the way, I think my profile was brief. I'm coming from science background, and I just started my newest role actually as the CEO of Finagal Lanka, Sri Lanka's #1 premium bread manufacturer, and we are a food processing company. So the way I see, there are a lot of things that we can do if you try to be more creative, but at the same time, start with why. So this is basically logical reasoning, and then that will open up a lot of creative thoughts. So you can ask me any questions, and I'll try to help you out as much as possible. So there's a question coming from a student. There are moments where you have to change your approach to a problem after realizing the initial idea isn't going to work. How do you apply creative thinking as a team in situations like this? So when you take implementing a certain idea, I mean, it does not happen. I mean, I generally don't do it in that way. Like spot actioning is not something I encourage for solutions like this. So every creative thing that we need to do, I mean, you might have seen the template that I was sharing a little while ago. So we take them through the approach of, the Kaizen. So Kaizen actually evolved from, the methodology actually evolved from the concept of PDCA, plan, do, check, act. So there is a specific way a project has to flow. So you plan it, and then you check, and then then you act upon it, and plan, do, then you check, and then you act upon it. So this PDCA is being translated in Kaizen in a different way. So here also what we do is we brainstorm, and then we realize that the solutions or the brainstorming might not have happened properly, as you said, and again it's going back to the previous step. And once again, if you feel that the previous brainstorming or the why has not happened properly, probably because we lack the expertise. So then you enrich the team. You get down a couple of suppliers. You get the support from the central teams, like the expert teams. You hire an expertise person to kind of give their inputs. So it's a matter of try to analyze where we went wrong. And it will not be possible if you don't execute any of your project in a systematic way. So this is why I strongly advocate, when you try to do something in industry, it has to be very systematic. It has to be taken through a project approach, even it's a small project. So when you go on a project approach, there's a specific set of phases or the steps. So if you fail in one step, it's a simple reverting back to the previous step and see what went wrong. Okay, so I think that's the way we have been doing, be it in the brainstorming session or the prototyping session. I mean, prototype session also we have made some flows. I mean, lid press is a classic example. We developed, and we were doing well, and then we realized that we have an issue with safety, because even when the person keeps his when the tin closer to the lid press, it starts coming down and trying to press his fingers against the lid, which is a risk. So then, we went to a safety sensors, that it will not operate when the hand is there. So the flows can be there. But again, you revert back to your thinking, the analysis part, and use some strong set of analytical tools, like, very effective tools like the Fishbone, brainstorming, Fishbone, YY, mind mapping. Practically use it. I mean, not just for the sake of presentations or the sake of saying. You just have to, practically use it. Then it will, it will do the magic. Good question. So there's another question. As a university undergraduate, how can I find time to develop my creative thinking? So I will tell you my timetable when I was at the university. Then I hope that will actually, give you some sort of, motivation to take it forward, because individual time management is very subjective, right? It's like you're asking, I mean, it's like, people are asking from Elon Musk, Dhammika Perera. I mean, he's not obviously an entrepreneur for me, but let's say the rich guys, who are the predominant non-businessmen, how you became successful. And they will say hard work, dedication, perseverance, and all this, very standard generic type of thing, which is not going to work. I mean, everyone has a own formula, right? I mean, it does not apply same to the others. I mean, everyone has their own story. So same, Chamod, my one will be different from yours. You are a unique person. You are Chamod, you are unique. And your story and my story will be different. But I'll tell you what I have done. Just see, if it makes sense to you. I joined university after my third attempt. That means to say that, I started very late. And I knew that. And on top of that, I joined Japur University. And intake was also 1 year or 6 months 6 months delayed. And at the university, there were a lot of, these ragging, anti-ragging, all this bullshit, was there. I got out of the university at the age of 26. But by then, I had done my part in terms of acquiring my skills. Few skills, I would say. I was unable to utter a single English word. Single sentence properly by the time I joined university. Reason was very simple. I studied at Malide College, Kurnagal. I'm from Kurnagal. I'm not from Colombo. I'm not from Kandy, And we never used to speak in English. Right? Not at home, never. At the school, no. But my vocab was good because I did literature at the college. I got a D for that. Everything was good, but still I couldn't speak. Then I purposely started interacting with Tamil students and started speaking English. And then I started, doing, speaking in English by myself, alone, at the boarding place. Then I started developing that part. It all starts with whether you have a desire to grow. I knew that I had an issue and I had a burning desire that I need to fix this issue. And I asked why I'm poor, why I'm weak in this, why I cannot do a presentation, why I feel so shy to go in front of people and not talk. I was so shy and I was shivering. But everyone would say these things, but the tips would be you just go, you talk to the mirror, you start practicing by yourself. And the second thing was my presentation was that bad. So I worked on that area, especially alone at the boarding place. I didn't go to any classes, but because there were no classes like that, I couldn't find. Since I started late, I knew that I need to acquire I need to have few more qualifications before I leave the university because I started late. Then I started doing, CIM, marketing. That part I got covered. And I started doing jobs because I started late. So by the time I got out of the university, I had done 2 jobs, I had some couple of experience. And I joined as a management trainee for Nestle before completing my degree. And then I, kind of realized still I'm late. 26, I'm as a management trainee, not good. Then, I said, I need to fast track. Acquired college, got my Six Sigma certification from Nestle, became the first to, certify in yellow belt and, started doing projects, winning projects, become the first, factory champion, regional champion. And then I diversified to supply chain, started, accelerating there in that part. So I deliberately, purposely realized that I started late. So as a university undergraduate, the first thing that you need to have, you have to have is, have a burning desire that nothing is impossible as long as you put your effort. And very importantly, you need to start imagining, you need to start dreaming about where you want to be. Friends, my batchmate at the university will tell, obviously you will not get an opportunity to interact with them, but everybody knows who were with me at the boarding place. I always had a kind of, drawing just next to my bed. With couple of drawings there with the family picture, which I drew. a vehicle, a house, and also specifically a title called CEO. And I got there before before I reached even 40. The reason is I started late. I knew my issues were where I was lacking. I was far behind. And even when I got into Nestle, I couldn't speak English properly, but I could communicate. That is where I developed my presentation skills by joining Toastmasters Club. So I worked a lot on my weaknesses, so then I started improving. And at the same time started, learning new areas, capitalizing. And honestly, I started working on projects, improvement. That was my mindset. So I would say, number one, you keep a burning desire, Jamo. And for creative thinking, you start dreaming. That will really help you. Start imagining your future. This is how you have to be, this is where I want to be. And at the same time, started, get involved with, social activities, speaking, interacting with the others, get involved with these creative things, and, which will stimulate your right brain, which we discussed at the beginning. Don't worry too much about these, GPA. I mean, not good to say that GPA is not, GPA doesn't matter, but don't get bogged down only with the higher GPA, because there were so many first classes in my batch. I mean, it doesn't actually translate when it comes to industry, because industry needs people who are so keen on, improving things, whom can, transform businesses, transform operations, transform businesses. It's very important. So I think I could fairly touch about it, but still this is a very deep area. So another question coming, creative thinking is coming from practical exposure. How do we get the experience to improve creative thinking? So internships are the best way of doing it. But at the same time, why don't you, you already have some student associations, you already have certain networks. Why don't you get into projects and solve problems? In other countries, university students are providing solutions to the problems that the society is having and the industries are having. I had never seen an approach from the university, from the undergraduate. I don't talk to academics because they have their own way of thinking. But why don't you guys form a team, form a particular alliance, and start solving problems in the industry? Get the exposure. I mean, who will resist you? Imagine, I was thinking in this way. Imagine all the food science students. I mean, I come from food science and technology background. So food science students get together as a network and, with the academics, say that, we are going to solve your, certain, quality issues, certain quality related problems using our expertise. We form a very strong foundation. I don't see that happening. But to tell you the truth, when I was at the university, we in fact had started a company, a concept called Student Company, Visionary Food Solutions. That was the name back then at the University of Shidam. We even got into certain discussions with a donor from some other country. And unfortunately, but we got into the fourth year of our academic life, and then everyone got away from got busy with the other work, and we could do it. But I did a couple of projects. I solved a problem at a yogurt manufacturing firm in Kurunagala. Issues related to incubation. Okay. So you can think like that. I mean, you need to step up and start solving problems in the community, solve the problems in the industry. For that, you need to get together. As much as get together to do all the concerts and all this fun type, which is really required. But at the same time, to get yourself exposed to the industry in advance and work with the industry from grade one. I mean, first year, right? It's paramount important. Yeah. So, and also try to do some these what you call gavel club activities, and other recreational activities, aesthetic activities. That's pretty much important. So which will stimulate your thinking part in terms of creativity. Anything else? thanks everyone who had asked questions. Sherman, Prabhat, thank you guys.
Thank you for sharing your personal experience as it was really inspirational. So we are running to end the Q&A session right now. Looking forward to hearing you speak again. Thank you very much, Mr. Kushan Amarasinghe, for that insightful session and for sharing your personal experience. I hope everyone had points to take note of. It's a great pleasure that you have accepted our invitation, especially during this unpredictable times we are facing. Once again, sir, thank you very much. As a sign of our gratitude,
Thank you guys.
Please accept the digital token of appreciation we've prepared for you.
Thank you. So it's a creative thinking, I would say. The first time I'm seeing a digital or digital token of appreciation.
Yes.
Good.
We will email that to you as well.
Thank you guys. Thanks.
So
really happy.
We are almost at the end. Yes. We are almost at the end of today's session, but to cherish the memories of today, we are now ready for the group photo. Don't miss this opportunity to be part of the Let's Talk legacy. So the virtual background will be shared in the comment section. You all can download it and put it as a virtual background. Guys, if I'd appreciate if you can turn on your cameras right now. And wait a few minutes.
Sure. Turning on the camera is the hardest part because I have to check the backgrounds, all this drama comes into the picture.
Okay, so in the count of three, I will take a screenshot of yours. 1, 2, 3, cheers. Thank you everyone for joining the group photo. A kind reminder, a feedback form will be shared in the chat box for all of you to share your thoughts and any pros and cons of this session. Now that brings us to the end of the last event for tonight. It's time to bring the second day of SkillUp and StandOut to a close. And as in any event, there are always those that require thanks and recognition for everything that they did to make this event a possibility. May I now invite Saditha Disanayaka, Program Team that talk for the year 2022-2023 to deliver the vote of thanks. Over to you, Saditha.
Thank you, Ismini. Logic will get you from A to B, but imagination will take you everywhere. Starting from a quote from Albert Einstein, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our guest speaker, Mr. Kushan Amarasinghe. It means a lot to us that you're devoting your busy schedule this weekend to share your valuable experience with us. Thank you again, sir, for inspiring and encouraging us with your words. I'm pretty sure that everyone here got an excellent insight into the topic. And also, I would like to express our gratitude to all the participants of the event for their active presence and contribution to make this event a great success. Also, a special thanks goes to the executive committee of Young Professionals Sri Lanka for all the guidelines who you have given to successfully organize this event. Last but not least, I would like to thank my fellow colleagues for in this organizing team. These young volunteers worked hard all these past weeks to make this event perfect. Thank you once again for all of you for making this event a great success. Thank you. Over to you, Ismi.
Thank you, Sarita. This brings us to the end of our session. Thank you for being present here today, and I'm sure that this was a very knowledgeable session to all of you. We will meet you again in the next episode of SkillUp and StandOut pitch game on 11th February. It's Vismini Amarasinghe signing off for today. Thank you. Stay safe and have a wonderful night.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. See you in the industry.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. Good night.